Did the last prompt you wrote start with something like act as a world-class marketing expert? Or maybe you give it a prompt like you are a senior copywriter with 20 years of experience. That is the same mistake I used to do. And it's not that those rules don't work. They actually do. But when you tell the AI to act as a world-class marketing expert, you are not giving it a role. It's more like when you think about it, it feels like you're giving it a costume. So basically, what you told the AI to do is dress up, act as the average of every marketing blog post you have ever been trained on. And that's where those cliche words come from. Words like unlock your potential, leverage your signages, elevate your brand to new heights. That's because what you told it to do is that you gave it a character. You need to act like this and not do this particular thing. Today, I'm going to show you the difference between giving an AI a costume and a job description. And why that difference is the gap between the AI's outputs that you have to rewrite and the AI's outputs that you use immediately. There are three things I would share with you in the next couple of minutes. And the first one is why the act as command that you give it oftentimes, why it fails, and what actually is happening at the background whenever you use that particular word. And I mean, of course, there will be a solution for this as usual. I'm going to give you a job description framework that you can use to replace every vague persona that you are using to work with giving it boundaries as well. And the third thing I'm going to also do is I'm going to do a live demo where I'm going to rewrite the same prompt in both ways. That means I'm going to use the old method and I'm also going to use this framework I'm going to give you here so you can see the difference in real time. If you are new here, I am Jude. You can call me Nirvana. And for the last 4 years, I've been building AI systems for agencies and startups, including influencing business owners and clients they work with as an AI marketing automation specialist. This is day 8 of the 5 layers of AI. I started this series where you master AI like a pro in the next 60 days from foundation layer to building autonomous systems. Now, we are still in layer 1. I'm leaving all these extras because I know how crucial these are going to be if you want to be a master at context engineering. But this lesson, I consider it as one of the most important in the entire series because when I thought about this, I figured out that this would be necessary when we want to build the layer 2, when we want to work on something that runs beyond instruction logic. So this is basically what we're trying to learn here. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to write a role instruction that tells AI exactly what its job is, what it's allowed to do, and what it must never touch as well. And with this, you get to build AI like a real employee with the role that you want it to clone after or to take after, rather than giving the AI the costume. So let's build this together. Here's something I want you to hold before we continue. When you think about it, pretending is for actors. I mean, what actors literally do on movie sets is they pretend they are doing or they're in this particular role, and that is why they're able to act like that. But in real sense, we actually give jobs to employees. You can't give an actor a job at a bank right now because he doesn't know anything about a bank. He doesn't have the required knowledge to work in a bank. But when you tell him to act as a banker, obviously you get to know that yes, he might even pull that off than a real banker. So when you type act as a sales expert, for example, the AI doesn't become a sales expert. Literally, it tries to act as one by pulling from every sales related blog post, for example, LinkedIn articles or any business book that it was trained on. It's going to pull from that. And the crazy thing is that whenever that happens, it only picks the average. And that average is what no one wants to hear. I mean, when you think about it, who says something like build rapport, lead with value, or leverage your network? Like real sales experts don't actually say things like that. Real sales experts that I've seen don't talk like that, but I've gone on calls with, that I've seen make posts online, they don't talk like that. When they say things like ask them what their current lead cost is before you mention price. Then these are the kind of way that I hear them speak. Or they might say something like, okay, if they haven't bought it in the first call, find out who else has a say. When you think about this, those experts are being specific. Now, that being specific is exactly what we want, because when you tell a little kid, probably a 10-year-old kid, This key can understand what that sales expert just said because they are not using these big words. And if I want to put it clearly, I would say the difference between this acts as a sales expert and what I just explained that a sales expert says is when you are specific, you give the AI what exactly is meant to take. But when you tell it to act as, you give the AI a costume. You let it get access to a broad output. You let it just pull in from random data that some people have written, and it not knowing those are average. Not everything that was trained, that the AI was trained on, was actually, the best of the best. I can't assume everything was in quality. These companies didn't do that. They didn't do that because they just need a large amount of data to give the AI, and they assume that is going to make it better. Why what? Not acknowledging the fact that what? Quality is different from quantity. But when you give it a job description, you are basically giving the AI a specific output. And that is the whole lesson behind every single thing I'm going to talk about today. So let me show you where I first understood this. You might remember from day 2 where I thought about grounding. And I mentioned that as an AI market, when I was working on an AI marketing system for a startup in the aerospace industry, I didn't know anything about orbital mirrors. I didn't know anything about aerospace generally. And, I didn't know anything about that, but fine. I did know about solar. I'm quite familiar with renewables, the terms in renewable industry, but when it comes to anything aerospace, I knew nothing about it. So when I wanted to prompt it, I did not tell it to act as an aerospace marketing expert. I didn't start with that because I can assume that would have given me a generic startup pitch language. It should just be sprinkling the word satellites into it. So instead, what I did was this. I told it, you are an intake specialist for an orbital neural partnership inquiry, and your only goal is to verify whether the incoming leads represent an organization with a budget for the satellite-based Lightning contracts that we're going to make. So I also remember telling it that if the budget is not confirmed in the first exchange, that you should just end the conversation politely and you should route them to a documentation page that we set up already. And you should never, there were some constraints we added there where I said you should never discuss pricing directly. I mean, who does that right from the beginning? We're trying to offer value if you think about it. So you should never use the word innovative. Words I've talked about, the constraints, the banned words I've talked about in previous lessons. I also gave it one thing it should follow, which is it should respond under those 4 sentences in total. Now, you see that everything I've said now, I have to be detailed. I have to be specific on things it should do and it should not do. I gave it a job description, basically giving it a contract. I did not give it a costume. I did not tell it to act as. Because if I tell it to act as, it's going to just start bringing big words to try to act as what it isn't. I have to first understand what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve there. And when I gave the AI those specific things, the AI knew exactly what job it was going to do. You know what it could do, what it should not touch, or what counted as success to us based on the constraint I gave it. When I tried to launch this system, I actually gave it days. I gave it days for it to work. And it was able to run without even me touching it for days. It was able to get every single thing in place. Now, the same logic actually applies because there was a time I worked with a solar installation company, and it was around the same time I actually worked with this company. And when I wanted to tell AI, because I obviously you need support from AI, so you should get your work faster. I didn't say it should act as a solar sales rep. I said you are a solar lead qualifier for a residential installation team, and your task is to determine whether the business currently spends more than currently spends more than $1,000 monthly on electricity. Now, if yes, you need to send a booking link to this person because this person is filling the form, and they are going to ask some questions which are like in select fields or multi-select fields. And in this question, we are picking out details, which I ran an AI automation behind it. And it's going to specifically bring out all those things based on what the person have picked. So if the person actually says, yes, they've spent more than $1,000 on electricity or every month, or they spend that every month, it's going to send a booking link to them. But if they spend anything less, it's going to send like this savings calculator to them. It's just like giving them free resources so as to, let them feel like, yes, they're still part of what our prospective clients. And from there on, you should just close the conversation. And I also told it to never use, all these cliche words like leverage, transformation, and the rest. And it should keep every reply under 3 sentences. And lastly, I actually told it to write like you are in an hurry and actually want to help. Remember, I said that this thing helps a lot because when you write like you're in an hurry, you try to fit in every single information into one. Now, when you think about it, that one instruction handles currently around 200 inquiries in the first month without even an human review. And that's not because the AI was smart, but because the description, the job exactly we gave it was clear enough, it was specific enough, or rather, I would say it was defined enough. I'm going to show you how I did this and the instruction and the structure I gave it behind every single instruction and the roles I gave this AI to take. Now, I split this into 3 parts, basically. The first one, I'm going to call it the scope of authority. The second one is the technical constraints. The third one is the no-goes. Now, for this scope of authority, it clearly defines what is this AI allowed to describe? What is he allowed to decide on? What should he ask us back as well? Like, basically, how much power are you giving this AI? An example that I give here is you are authorized to qualify leads based on budgets and company sizes. You are not authorized to offer discounts or confirm a booking without a verified LinkedIn profile. Now, when you reason something like this now, I gave it access to do some things. Like I authorized it to do some things. And I told it not to also do some things as well. So it's very clear on what it should not do. What I did right there is I gave it a boundary line. And the boundary line is the most important sentence in every AI job description that you're giving it. So the AI is going to know where its authority ends, the same way as an employee that you have knows what they are not meant to touch or decisions they are not meant to take. There are decisions that they have to reach back to you and ask you for permission for. This is the same way you are supposed to treat an AI. An AI is not like a friend or a best friend. An AI is not meant to be your second brain. It's meant to really be like an employee. If you work with it in a position where you put it as an employee, you get to see it works effectively and does the specific tasks you want it to do. Because if you remember, right from day one, we said this, that we are trying to ensure AI moves from probabilistic to deterministic. That means we want it to even be as deterministic as possible. Now, the second one we have here is the technical constraints. That means you are telling it what specific numbers, what tools, or what rules must it follow, or which failure modes should you watch for. Now, an example that I'm going to give here is, aside from this, I can say all pricing follow-ups, that means whenever we want to follow up on a client, must include our standard 20% margin for service-based contract. Or I tell it, if the lead mentions a competitor's name, flag the conversation for human review. Do not respond to competition or competitor mentions directly. That means we are pointing out a real constraint there, real numbers, and not just abstract guidance, basically. Now, what we are doing there is we are trying to ensure that when you point out a particular thing, the example I gave just now is like when a particular customer reaches out and they're like, I am seeing from this other company that their own services are cheaper. Now, in that case, we're not giving the AI to respond to something like this. We want to give an human, someone that understands humans when it comes to communication and psychology better. We obviously, or the company should have a script for that, or should have a way they respond to things like that. Because we want to ensure that this person, because everybody is a potential customer, right? Though not everybody ends up as a customer, but everybody is a potential customer. So we need to ensure, while we're not going to obviously badmouth the competitor, we need to ensure we approach this the right way. That is how this works. So, and that was why we're giving it, when it's mentioned, let me say, so this particular company wants to pay a 50,000 for this, and you guys are asking for, or are asking us for a 50,000. Why you guys say it is a 60,000? So why is that? So in this case, you can see we're giving it a constraint. We're pointing it out with real numbers as well. We're not just telling it, okay, so if they don't agree to it, just get them off. No. If they don't agree to this specific price or this specific cost, then the third one is what I call the no-go zone. This is where you need a ban, since it's no-go, a ban to the language it uses and the behaviors that are off limits. Basically, banning the language that is going to break your credibility. And this ties directly to the previous class, to day 7, where you are meant to have bans. Now, an example that I'm going to give here is I'm telling it like the bands we've used in day 7, which is you should never use some languages. An example, those leverage, those cliche languages like leverage, transform, synergy, innovative, or any variation of things like I hope this finds you well. So in this case, we tell it to write, in fragments so that it can make the points go faster, and you keep every response under 4 sentences. Unless, let me say, in a case where a client asks for a direct technical question, like the example here. So what I just covered just now is about the scope of authority, the technical constraint, and the no-go zone. That means what limits should this employee in a business? This employee is a manager. What authorization should I give this manager? What role for this particular industry, for this particular tax that we're meant to address? What level of authorization should I give? The technical constraint, which is when something pops up which requires an human to come in, you should just give us this particular thing. Follow this rule that we're giving you. And the no-go zone is more like a ban. We're giving it, okay, don't ever mention, the AI personally should not ever mention things like this. You should not add languages like this. And when we follow these 3 pillars, I can assume that every job description that we write is going to be better every single time. Okay, so rather than talking, let me just show you how both versions work. And I'm going to use the solar example of a follow-up email to the residential lead I mentioned the other time. So let's do this. Act as a sales rep for a solar company and writes a follow email to a homeowner. Okay, so once again, we're using ChatGPT. Why do I keep using this every single class? I'm not giving this access to any of my chats, so I'm not influencing these models with any existing chats whatsoever. So I'm not logged in as well. And yes, it's the same thing here. So let's go on with this. So now you can see the answer is giving us. When you look at this, I hope this message finds you well kind of messages every single time. I would love to help you unlock, the power of solar energy. Our team is excited to support your sustainability journey. When you look at things like this, you get to understand the interest and everything mentioned there. You get to understand that this is the average that every solar company email marketing looks like. And when an homeowner reads this, they don't get any special feeling where they feel like you are directing this email personally to them. Because they obviously know, people know right now that there's tech, there's AI, there are processes that they take to automate things now. There's nothing personal. So what the AI just did, it just give us what it did the best, actually, but it's mostly average. And what we'll do this time around, I'm going to use the other version, where this one is a job description version, where I'm going to say every single thing, every single step, and give it the constraint and every single thing is meant to. So when you look at this, I already put this together, where I told it you are a solar lead qualifier for a residential installation team, and your task is to determine whether the business currently spends more than $1,000 monthly on electricity. Now, if yes, send the booking link. If no, send the savings calculator and close the conversation. Remember, I also mentioned this earlier. Now, I'm giving it rules as well to follow. That the no-go area, I'm literally banning it right now. And I'm telling it to never use the word leverage, transform, or unlock. You should not greet like, this, I hope this finds you well. And you should write in plain, direct language under 3 sentences, sound like someone who actually wants to, not someone trying to close a deal. Now, write the follow-up email. With this, let's see the outputs. Okay, sorry, that was a mistake. So when we see this, let me read this out clearly. So it went along with the 3 sentences in very clear question. No fluff, no corporate language, right? So now the first one, are you currently spending more than $1,000 on electricity? If you are, here's the booking link so we can see what solar could realistically save you. And we had the booking link. If your bill is under that, this calculator will give you a better idea on the numbers before we talk. This actually is very direct. It's very direct. This is the kind of email someone replies to. Because it sounds like a real person actually wrote this. It sounds like a real person wrote this compared to what we have here. I mean, I hope you are doing well. Like, nobody does that. Honestly, while this would have sounded humble, it would have sounded good to a customer, but this is something people are using AI a lot, and they are very familiar with things like this. So when you want to break that thing, you need to be as specific as possible. Remember, we gave it something worth a large amount of processing token, but it gave us something very short. And it will continuously give us something very short because we're being specific enough. So next time, it will save us tokens, actually, rather than giving us something like this. This is long. This is unnecessary. A customer having to see all this is a lot of information. If I see this right now, I might just decide to just, at best, if I don't want to ignore it and it's very important to me, I might star that email and I'll say I'll get back to it. But there are some times when I, just when I label emails like that, I don't often get back to it the same week. Whatever I'm going to address immediately that is urgent or feels like I'm able to process easier, I get to process it better immediately and I attend to it because these people have done the work. They've given me the chance. They've done the processing for me. Why they're just giving me something I can just get immediately. Something as direct as this. So when you look at the difference between these two, you get to see a lot. You see where you're missing. I see where I've been missing in the past month when I send things like this to prospective clients and I send something as long as this. Honestly, this is bad. I'm saying this is very bad. I'm being very clear there because this says everything. When you look at this difference, you get to see we're telling them to perform an action immediately. People want to be directed, they want to be told what to do immediately, and that saves them time, according to them. Because having to read this is even more annoying than going through this link. Honestly, it's more annoying, and they will gladly go through this than they should have to read all this. So, let's get back to this. I want to plan something. When you notice what we've done just now, we use the same AI, the same model, but it gave us completely different output on both. The costume that we used to give AI, where we tell it to act as, used to give us a character, give us characters, right? But the job description we added there gave us a worker, someone that knows exactly what you needed to do at that moment. And before I let you go right now, I want to plan something in your head. In layer 4 of this series, probably around the 40 plus, we're going to be building AI agents. And these are going to be AI employees that run on their own. No human in the loop and no manual inputs as well. Here's what an AI agent actually is. It is the layer 1 brain with a permanent job description. If you are able to understand how to work with a job description like this, you get to notice what an AI does is it knows the roles, it knows the constraints, it knows the rules it's meant to follow. And if you can do this, an AI agent gets to build better. If you can follow the three rules, the scope of authority, the technical constraints, the no-go zone, you get to, when you use this instruction, this AI agent is going to be able to run autonomously. And what I mean there is, it's going to run without you having to do any single thing. Without using the playbook this time around, giving it every single thing, it understands your whole business. And from then, you don't need to do anything. This is more like an employee that knows what they are doing. They've been paid for the job, they do the job. Now, if you can't write a clean job description for, a simple chat prompt like I did, you need to know that you'll not be able to manage an autonomous, agent like this. And if you follow us to day 41, we need to be very clear that at that point on, you find it hard to build things like this that works very well. Because you have a bot that just does anything he wants to do. And it answers things that it's not even meant to answer in cases. And that makes commitments that it's not meant to make. So the logic you build in this layer 1 is more like the foundation for layer 4. Is what layer 4 runs on. So when you get it right here, the agent's work, when we get there, becomes easier. But if you skip this, if you don't understand how this works exactly, the agent's work that you're going to build is going to be a lot. It's going to be chaos. It won't be as premium as you'd have assumed it to be. So once again, before I let you go, as usual, you know what we do here. I want you to pick one task in your business, probably in the support agent or content writer, anything. Pick one task that you're meant to do, something that you've been afraid to hand to AI, basically. And this should be something specific. This should be something that feels, too important or too nuanced to trust to a machine. But when you pick this, I want you to write the 3-part job description based on what I told you. That's the scope of authority, the technical constraint, the no-go zone. If you can write these, 3 things clearly, the task that you're going to give is going to be automatable. You can give it what it can't touch, what it should do, what exactly it should touch as well. But if you cannot do this, I can assume that you've not understood the task well enough. That means the AI is not even the problem in this case. The problem is probably from you. That means you don't know what exactly you are even meant to do. Because if you do know what you are meant to do, if you know that job very well, you'll be able to give it every single step you would have taken, every single avoidance you would have made. You will give it every single thing to take. And once again, there is a resources page for you. So you can obviously check through this resources page. You have access to understanding what's more and what everything I've been talking about all this while. You get to understand everything I've been talking about all this while. So one more thing before I let you go. This is more like when you do this task, this is more like going to be the closest, real world version of what I taught you as, a well-written job description from an actual hiring process. So what I want you to do is this. I want to recommend something. And here's a recommendation that is not it is more of an habit now. I want you to pull up a job description from a company that you respect a lot, a real company now. I want you to go to their career page, their careers page. One of the companies I respect is one of the companies I've, been in touch with their founders, Reflect Orbiter. That Reflect Orbiter. Now, I want you to go, for example, you don't have to do this, not Reflect this time around, but I want you to go to their careers pages for the company you respect a lot. I want you to pick from any one of them. I want you to pick from the key responsibility section, and you notice how specific this thing is. You notice how it defines what a person should own. When you're looking for an employee, you want this person to know what exactly they have to do, the tasks, the responsibilities they have, what they should own and what they don't own, and what success should look like as well. This is exactly how this layer 1 job description for an AI should look like. So for the actual AI angle, if I want to say this, aside from this, there's this person, I don't know how his name is being called, Andrew NG. He has told in detail about agentic AI workflows on YouTube. So I'm going to attach one of his videos, obviously, somewhere at the corner there. I'm going to attach the video. So you'll probably see somewhere around there. When you watch it, you are going to see everything it describes at the agent level that starts with exactly what we've covered today. It's going to obviously have a clear role, a defined scope, and boundaries on what the agents can touch and what it should not touch. You can watch this. You can watch it this week. You don't have to watch it immediately after watching this video, but you can as well. And yeah, you get to understand more the agentic layer even before we get there. But one thing I want you to know once again is that aside from all this, we are starting layer 2 very soon. This is day 8, and we're starting layer 2 very, very soon. So this week, just watch this or watch this today, whichever time you can watch this. It speaks more on this and you get to understand it very well. So at least before we hit layer 2, before we even hit layer 4, which is what the stuff is going to be about, I want you to just watch this. So see you on day 9. That's the next video. All right. Have a nice day.